So, I mean, it's gone beyond the podcast, that is for sure. Talk about the books, James. I mean, what can you tell us about the books?
So I wrote my first one. Ironically, I just started writing it before COVID happened. So that was, somewhat good timing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But about 3.5 years ago now. But what I wanted to do initially was I didn't want to write a biography or anything because A, back then I was only 46. And B, I didn't have a spectacular life. Interesting, stunts and all that stuff. You could read it and go, okay, this is different. But what I wanted to do was take stories from my career and my life, and then in each chapter create takeaways. So the story might be sleep deprivation. You start in the fire station, the tones go off, and then you're driving a tiller truck down the road. Now you're on the roof with a chainsaw, and you're just now starting to wake up and there's fire around you. And then we talk about sleep deprivation and sleep hygiene. So that was the first one. It's called One More Light, Life, Death, and Humanity Through the Eyes of a Firefighter. Was super lucky. Josh Brolin actually wrote the foreword for that book, which I always tell people is funny because he voiced the foreword on the audio book too. So you've got one of Hollywood's best voices, and then my squeaky ass voice reading the rest of the book. So, but then the second one, I won't go into too deeply, but it will be revealed quite shortly. But what I wanted to do was actually shift to fiction so I could create a story. And the reason being, you and I have a podcast, I've written a book. So we're hitting all these different mediums of how can we help people, as you mentioned, a lot of people don't listen to podcasts. Well, how can I get to the readers? Well, the biggest piece is how can I get to the people through their screens? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to write a book, and I hope the book is a phenomenal read. But the real pipe dream is to make it into a show on Netflix or Amazon or something. Because I want to tell the story of the real fire service, not the Chicago fire, not the backdraft, or God forbid, some of those even worse cheesy soap operas they got out there.
I can't.
Yeah, because I mean, like Chicago fire, I had Steve Chikarodis on, who's the real Chicago chief behind that show. But he was very PC in the way he presented it. But basically, he presents an idea and a story, and then Hollywood goes, all right. And then they it comes
do their
out.
Thing. Yep.
Yes, and all these models are now walking around a fire station. But someone made a great point. Even in reality TV, where they follow fire departments, it's always a success story. They always make the rescue. The cardiac arrest survives, which is in my whole career, I never saved a single person in full cardiac arrest. Worked hundreds of them. So that's the reality, and it's not making it doom and gloom, but it's it's pulling that curtain back and seeing the wizard as well, like bringing that into the conversation. But at the same time, and I think this really is important when it comes to the law enforcement conversation, everyone points at our cops and go, why are they not doing better?
Yep.
But no one points at the streets of America and going, why do we have so many gangs? Why do people shoot up our schools? Why do we have so many homeless? And why is there a fentanyl crisis? And so it goes back to trauma. It goes back to that origin story. But after all these conversations, I realized that so many people, granddad was not okay. And more often than not, granddad was in World War II. And so we look at the last domino. We don't forget to look upstream how many dominoes fell before that. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a fusion of the modern day fire service, but there will be an origin story that will take you back 2 generations. So hopefully it will reframe people who are struggling, who found themselves in a bad place, with compassion and empathy again, rather than judgmental. So that's kind of the concept.
I love it. I can't wait. How can I help you and the audience help you sort of get the message out there about the things that you're doing, the people you're talking with, and the mission that you're on?
I mean, if there's an episode that you like, obviously listen to it. I mean, it's the same, with yours, with all of us. And this was funny when people come to me, sometimes they say you're going to start a podcast in the fire service, like, oh, we don't want to step on your toes. I'm like, I didn't invent podcasting. You know, it's the more the merrier, as long as it's coming from a good place. If you're trying to make things better. So for me, it's not even how you follow, my one. It's just, be hungry for that information. I mean, I have social media and stuff, but even then, does that really change anything? No. So it's the word of mouth is a big thing. If there was something your podcast, my podcast that truly moved you, that helped in some way, shape, or form with one of the guests, share it. That's the big thing in the podcast world. I mean, I don't know if you have the same. When I post my promo videos, very little traction on the whole algorithm, So really all
Same.
podcasters have to do is word of mouth, So if it really helped, and I say this on the intro of every single one of my shows, just share it. Just tell one person, because I truly subscribe to that thing, which again pushes against the metrics. If you help one single person, then all of this was worth it. So if you enjoyed it, then think, okay, who else? Let me put it on my social media, or let me send it to a friend. Because this is what I love about 900 plus episodes. You tell me, James, I'm struggling. I'm thinking about plant-based diets, or my sleep is kind of shit, or whatever the thing is. I can say, all right, I'm going to send you 2 episodes. Listen to those and then get back to me and we'll talk more. So it's like homework. So this is the beautiful thing about podcasting. If something helped, share it. That's all I would say.